Good afternoon, Internet. Welcome to Speedgaming Live 2024. This is the online Link to the Past randomizer portion of the tournament, which is spoiler mode. I'm your host, Skelly. And today, in her tracking debut, we have JNDB, my fiance. Give it up for JNDB. So this is spoiler, which means our two runners today, secretlyasliver and PTM, have been reading the spoiler log for the seed for the past 15 minutes or so, and taking notes and trying to come up with the best route that they can. So they already know where everything is, in theory, and the task is going to be to route those things together as efficiently as possible and also without dying. Because typically in these spoiler seeds, you don't get as many hearts or safeties as you normally would, depending on how convenient they are. So execution can really make a big difference here. And we're off, so both of them starting at Link's house. Another thing I should mention, since this is a spoiler race and all the information is available, the two runners are actually allowed to watch each other's streams if they choose. They could even be watching this stream. There's no delay or anything like that. And so we see flippers here on Uncle. I took a peek at the log. I wasn't able to get, the whole story, but there are some interesting things that I did find out, and we already have our pendant and crystal information on the tracker here. So PTM is continuing into into Hyrule Castle, whereas secretlyasliver, who I'm just going to call him Sean, he goes by Sean, everyone knows his name is Sean. He is saving and quitting and heading to the east. We see a little bit of divergence already. Okay, so it looks like PTM just wanted the 10 bombs from the chest there. So bomb routing in spoiler is actually kind of tricky. Bombs and arrows are something you really take for granted in regular rando, because you just find them in all the chests that you don't want. But in spoiler, you have to be really conscientious about making sure you actually have bombs for the things that you need, and arrows. So Sliver, he just took the 3 bombs from Link's house, whereas PTM went into the front of Escape to get the 10 bombs, which honestly, that took a pretty long time. Could be that he didn't know that the bombs were in Link's house. That's actually a pretty easy thing to overlook. But now we have both runners in Eastern, and we see the hookshot in the very first chest. And Sliver saves and quits immediately. This is a pendant, and it's also a dungeon we couldn't beat anyway because we don't have a bow. And now he's heading to the south. So, looks like Sliver is just slightly ahead just because of the bomb routing difference at the start, but, a death here or there can make a difference. This is not an insurmountable lead by any means. So having that early hook shot actually helps with Mini Moldorm Cave here quite a bit, because you can actually use it to kill the Mini Moldorms. You don't have to worry about finding a different weapon. And we see the Cane of Burna and the book. And Sliver is going to walk out and go somewhere else instead of saving and quitting. It looks like he's heading probably to Ice Rod Cave, or perhaps a fake flipper. We'll see. Or, sorry, he has the flippers, so that wouldn't make any sense at all, would it? Okay, that was very strange. He was somehow swimming in the cliff. Okay. Well, I guess he and I are on the same page because he just did a fake flipper with the real flippers. Whereas PTM, he remembered he has the flippers, so he gets to take this shorter route, so that saves a decent bit of time here. And I think Sliver just realized he has flippers because when he passed through that shallow water, he was walking. If you're fake flippering, you normally swim through that. But anyway, he found a lamp there under the bridge, and PTM is shortly behind. Now, with that book, looks like we're heading towards the desert area. Now, desert is not a place that they can finish yet without a glove, but hold that thought. Is he going to look at it? No. Well, spoiler alert, there is something very interesting on the desert ledge here. This is a pendant, by the way, so this is not really a dungeon they want to finish in any case. So 2 pendant dips required very early in the seed. One for the hookshot, one for this glove coming up. Dark World access in the seed is a little bit convoluted. Not that crazy. As you can see, we're not opening a single chest in here. There's no point. There's no good items. We don't need keys. The whole point of getting that book was to make this very long walk to Desert Ledge to get that glove. And then with a glove, and a hookshot, and a lamp. Oh, there's half magic and sync. I didn't see that. Okay, that's really convenient. That's a very, very nice safety. It can trivialize a lot of rooms that can otherwise be difficult in spoiler. But with hookshot and lamp and glove, it's no surprise. Sliver is heading up the mountain next. Let me see. The stun prize is a blue rupee, which potentially could matter, but usually in spoiler you can find a 100 or a 300 somewhere that'll set you up for the rest of the seed. We are going to need money eventually for pod at the very least. Over rescuing the old man, we're rewarded with the red boomerang. It's kind of a nice item to have in spoiler, to be honest. Boomerangs are kind of underrated, though. For a lot of like general purpose use with stunning things and whatnot, you can accomplish the same thing with the hookshot, so it's a little bit redundant. But you can't not pick it up when you're saving old man. And yeah, this Death Mountain climb is kind of perilous with only 3 hearts. Those boulders do a full heart of damage. That was some nice hookshot. Using the hookshot to be invincible, not get killed by the boulders there from PTM. And Sliver went for the bomb jump there, but something went awry and he fell down. PTM, on the other hand, he can't even bomb jump here because the bomb would kill him. Yeah, so PTM is just going to save quit. This, I mean, makes perfect sense with the health he has, or maybe he's just going to go somewhere else. Nope. Back up the mountain. And honestly, if you're going to East Death Mountain next, that save quit really barely loses any time. Sliver having some trouble with the dead rocks here. These guys can be so annoying. And they are dead even now. So we have our glove, we have a moon pearl. We're just 1 item away from Dark World access. And by the way, if you're wondering why the timers are different on the two streams, that's because Sliver's timer started when the 15-minute study period began. So you'll see his is exactly 15 minutes ahead of PTM's. They're perfectly in sync. It's just they started them at different times. And there we see the Titan mitts as well as the boots. So that is our Dark World access, having the mitts and the Moon Pearl. But we are not going to the Dark World just yet. You know, Dark World's a pretty scary place when you don't have hardly any weapons. But we do see some interesting divergence here, which is PTM is doing Spiral Cave, whereas Sliver just decided to go in the Dark World portal immediately. So PTM is getting something that Sliver definitely is not getting. And that thing is a sword. So kind of interesting. Swords are pretty good, and I'll be honest, in this seed, the swords are really, really bad across the board. I will be surprised if we see Tempered Sword, to be honest. So I'm curious when Sliver's going to end up getting that, because I think he's going to have to sooner or later. And there we see the hammer from Hookshot Cave. So now we have even better Dark World access because we can use whatever Dark World portal we want. Difference here is Sliver has no sword, PTM does. Okay, I wonder if he realized he forgot the sword because he's going right back to East Step Mountain, or maybe he has some other plan in mind. I don't know what else there could be, but that I can't believe you fit through those dead rocks. Hair in a spiral? Yeah, that's true. He could do that. With that hammer, he can finish Hera easily. And we see PTM is picking out a bottle with a green potion from Hookshot Cave. That's a nice safety to have. It's a little less useful when half magic is free, except, okay, he's getting it now. Still nice to have. And I mean, you can always drink that green potion and just put something else in the bottle instead, and it's useful that way too. Okay, so now Sliver's got the sword. He just had to make a dedicated trip to go back and get that. Yeah, that's definitely a bit of a time loss there. Not doing all the mountain in one trip. And there's Cane of Samaria on Sick Kid. Oh, wait, Cane of Samaria on Sick Kid. Okay, so that bottle is a little bit more important than just a safety. You need that to get the cane. And Sliver did not grab it. Or at least I think he didn't. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember seeing it. I'm pretty sure he just safe quit immediately after the hammer. And PTM farming some rupees from Blindside, it looks like. And there is our flute. So we've already been in all 3 pendant dungeons to get required items. Yeah, it's possible there's another bottle somewhere else that's easier. I mean, that when the hammer's already in Hookshot Cave, that first bottle is pretty dang easy. You know, it's a bit of a fetch quest. You aren't normally thinking about bottles too much, at least not in terms of being like a required item in Spoiler. Normally it's just kind of like a comfort thing. So it could be that he has a different plan. Or it could be that he just didn't take it into account, or maybe he forgot it was there. Now PTM's got his foot. Both runners gonna go activate them. Yeah, this is kind of like a half-ped seed. You had to do half of all the pendant dungeons. Oh, I guess saying half is being a little generous. It was the first chest of Eastern and the second chest of Thieves, but still. Anyway, Sliver heading to Mire Shed here. He gets the dash through the sparks without taking damage. And we finally see a heart and the cape. I guess I should point out, there apparently was a gentleman's agreement that both runners needed to get the cape. I don't know who was going to enforce that, but it seems like both of them want it. That said, the cape is going to be kind of nice for other reasons later down the road, potentially. I mean, they both have Burna, so cape's a little bit redundant with that. But there is, in fact, a bow on Bumper Ledge. It's not the only bow, but there is a bow on Bumper Ledge. So and it looks like that is exactly where Sliver's heading towards next. So it seems kind of oh, I stand corrected. He's going. Where is he going? I don't know where he's going, but he's heading towards Northeast Dark World. BTM has found a lot more hearts. I'm not sure if that was just from pieces, or if he found a heart container somewhere that Sliver did not. I mean, finding 8 heart pieces already seems kind of unlikely, but I know he's picked up a few. The only heart that Sliver has is from Mire Shed, which is right next to that cape, and we're seeing a mirrorless smith play by PTM here. He's taking this. Ooh. I think he's taking the smith to Bumper Ledge. But I don't think you can actually go in there with the smith. Can you? I'm gonna learn something here. I think he yells at you. He yells at you. Uh-oh. Yeah, so that's unfortunate. I mean, that is... I like the idea, and you know, if you play a lot of entrance randomizer, you might be used to being able to do that. But in the vanilla game, vanilla behavior is that the smith will not follow you into caves. So yeah, that's just very unfortunate. That said, PTM wanted to go to Catfish anyway, so I mean, it's not like he went completely out of his way to do something that didn't work. And there is the shovel for PTM. So now both runners do have the shovel. Okay, there's a bottle that Sliver found. So that'll work for getting Cane of Samaria. Was it the best bottle? No, but I mean, it's not that bad comparatively. There we see the ice rod, and well, actually we see both rods simultaneously. So Sliver finding the ice rod in Skull Woods, PTM getting the fire rod from the shovel. I was too busy watching PTM. Did Sliver? He surely has the fire rod already, right? Someone can tell me. I mean, he wouldn't be here otherwise, right? And he has the shovel, so. I believe both runners have fire rod at this point. So Sliver's stream is struggling a bit. Okay, and it looks like we got the blue mail from the smith as well. So that was the reason why PTM picked up the smith on the way to doing catfish. That's an interesting idea. I wouldn't think to do, but I mean, you kind of have to like re-enter the dark world over and over again, like to get the flute and then to go get. Well, you need to go get the cape, quote unquote, because they agreed to get the cape. But the fact that he wanted to go back in the dark world again anyway with after that first trip means he could kind of route in the smith. So, it's an interesting idea for sure. So PTM gets his bow from Bumper Ledge. This fight from Sliver is going to be a little bit spooky. 4 hearts, he can basically take 2 moth hits or 4 spike hits. But he does have half magic fire rod. So actually that was very fast. Yeah, that was a really good fight for taking safety strats there with the fire rod. And we have our first crystal. Sliver finishing Skullwoods. And it looks like he's going to backtrack out of Skullwoods because he still has to go get that bow from Bumper Ledge. Whereas PTM got the bow first and then went to Skullwoods. Also PTM, now he has his ice rod as well, so both runners have both rods. So I think overall, getting that bow first definitely saves some time, because walking all the way back out of Skull can be kind of scary. Not scary, kind of slow. I said scary because what Sean was doing right there was really scary. He had the cape ready though, so he could have just used that too, if he needed to. So both runners just kind of retracing their steps at this point. And there's the bow for Sliver. And it looks like he's going to go pick up his cane, which is the one progressive thing that he is lacking over PTM. PTM does have that armor, but Sliver doesn't want it. It's too slow. And maybe he can find the other one. And using his last bomb here in Blind Hideout. Oh, okay, that's where PTM got his extra heart. He was in here earlier. You know, PTM is done. Okay, Sliver didn't actually go up in that top room, even though he bombed it. He could have just bombed it out of muscle memory, because, you know, normally in Rando you always do that before doing anything else in that room. Whereas PTM actually did go up there. That was how he got his rupees. You'll see he's at 117, which is just barely enough to pay for pod. But Sliver is getting rupees from Cackwall instead. So they both have their money sorted out, and it looks like PTM is heading to pod next. We'll see if that's what Sliver wants to do next too. Looks like it. So pretty neck and neck so far. They've basically just been following each other this whole time. Slightly more safety for PTM, but you know, if Sliver doesn't die, then it doesn't really matter. So we'll see how they decide to route pod. Pod routing in Spoiler, personally, I think is one of the harder things to optimize because there are so many keys, there's so many different layouts. To figure out which one is ideal can be tricky. However, in this first test, we saw Ether, so both players getting Ether. And that is required for both Meyer and Turtle Rock, so I mean, getting that one is kind of a no-brainer. But figuring out which keys to get can be a little bit more complicated. We have to go right first, since, you know, if that first chest doesn't have a key, this is really the only way you can go. And Sliver has exactly 4 arrows, which is, well, exactly how many he needs to do this room. Yeah, luckily this dungeon has a decent amount of places where you can get arrows, especially if you're going on this path through the right side here. I'm assuming he's going to get these pots with more arrows. No, he's not actually. Okay. Well, if you want 10 arrows, there's 10 arrows under those pots. Or 10 arrows in that chest, that works too. And so we're making sure to pick up some extra rupees. I think that's just for potions at this point. There's not really anything else you'd want to pay for except for Zora. At least that's the only thing you'd want to pay more than 100 rupees for. And so we're going to get a boss fight coming up pretty soon, and it's not a trivial boss fight by any means. There's of course the Helmasaur King, and we only have Fighter Sword. So, it's a little bit of a scary fight for PTM. He's on blue mail, so he can take 5 hits, assuming he enters the fight with the 5 hearts he has right now. Sliver effectively will be taking double damage, so his margins are a lot thinner. That said, just to give some background, Sliver is a really good NMG player. NMG Helmasaur is already kind of tough, so it's a fight that I'm sure he's pretty comfortable with to begin with. He can afford to take 1 hit here, and I guess in theory, if things get really bad, he could use the cape and do spin attacks for a decent amount of time. That's only going to be helpful in phase 2, though. Yeah, that was a really good fight from both of them, really. But yeah, Sliver definitely played that a lot more confidently than I would have. He had no fear whatsoever. He got the kill really quickly. And they both have the pod crystal at basically the same time. And a second bottle with a blue potion. That's a pretty nice free safety. Yeah, they're just continuing to go in the exact same places. Back up the mountain yet again. And there are 2 crystal dungeons up here, Turtle Rock and Hera. Both of them are fully completable at this point. Nice think. Man, they are really close. Looking ahead at go mode, we're pretty close. We still need the mirror for Swamp Palace, and we still need a second sword. But that's kind of it. And speaking of the mirror, there it is. So now we're just looking for a sword. And like I said earlier, they're in some pretty nasty places. In fact, I'll just go ahead and tell you where the 2 are that I don't think we're going to see. Okay? Well, there is a vanilla sword on Ped. We're definitely not pulling Ped. There's also a sword on Eastern boss, Armos Knights. We're definitely not doing that either. So I'm pretty sure both runners are going to finish on Master Sword. But thankfully, they should end up finding silvers. Where might our Master Sword be? I'm not going to give it away, Telethar. That's also a nice heart container right there. That is very free. I mean, it's nice to be able to just dash through that room without doing any kind of strats. But, I mean, if you're comfortable with chomps, that's a very free heart container. I'll put it this way, they're not going to get the Master Sword until GT. It's in GT. Anyway, the big key layout here, big key and lava chest, kind of forces you to get every single key in this dungeon. You can't do any kind of fun optimizations and try to save a key. Or skip one, rather. Somehow Sliver has ended up with more hearts than PTM, even though PTM was in the heart lead by 2 for quite some time. So overall, they have like roughly the, I guess you could say, kind of the same amount of health between PTM's blue mail and Sliver's more hearts. I mean, it depends on exactly what kind of thing you're fighting, because the damage tables in this game are not exactly consistent. Half magic with the cape and also Burna in 2 bottles. They should be feeling pretty safe. And after all is said and done, they enter the Trinex room at basically the exact same time. Let's see how they handle this fight. Because Hammer Trinex can be a little bit tricky sometimes. So PTM opting to, at least he started using the hammer on the right side, whereas Sliver just, he mostly used Fire Rod the whole way since he has a half magic. With half magic, you can kind of just burn the right side. You've got plenty of resources to do it. It's a lot simpler than the hammer. And so Sliver gaining a bit of time in that fight, a little bit cleaner. Oh, look, another free heart. Okay. So, Turtle Rock is done. That is crystal number 3 for both runners. And we see 2 different strats on how to handle the Lionel bridge there. That's kind of interesting. Sliver went for the hook shot to get some iframes, whereas PTM just used the cape. And unfortunately, Sliver has run into one of the longest text boxes in the game. That guy has a lot to say, and it's very frustrating when he runs into you. Okay, so PTM is going into Hera, which is a crystal. They have to do it. Sliver's just going to leave. So, Sliver is probably doing this because nothing important is actually in Hera, and you can do it like on the way to GT anyway. He's not really going to have anything better for the fight by that point, so I think it's probably a wash either way. It might be slightly faster to do it early like PTM is. So, Sliver, already in Swamp, PTM to follow. Looks like a big lead for Sliver, but it's really not because he's a Hera clear. Well, not behind, but he still has to to clear Hera. And with the last sword in GT, and we have all the other, you know, items we need to finish the seed, we're just going to be seeing a lot of go moding. We still have to do Ice Palace after this, and Mire. So going back to this gentleman's agreement about getting the cape thing, the cape effectively got them silvers because the first bow they got on Bumper Ledge. I mean, they didn't need to get that one necessarily. The other one was on Spec Rock. But there is like no good way to kill Vitreous otherwise. Bombos anywhere accessible? Good question. Bombos is, as it turns out, vanilla. So no, because there are no swords. I mean, even if there were swords, that check is kind of slow. Well, Sliver's down to only 1 heart here, but all the puffs are dead. He just has to silver this guy in the face. No problem. Yeah, this is super, super close right now. Now Sliver heading over to Ice, another Crystal Dungeon. At this point, it's pretty much arbitrary whether they choose Ice or Mire next. That said, there is a safety in Ice that is kind of tempting. I'll be curious to see if he goes for this. Okay, he's not. So, the compass chest there, which Sliver just skipped, has the powder. If you know, like, bomb strats for that room, you can do it pretty quickly. That said, you don't need powder, and he has a lot of hearts. But it's definitely an option. And now Sliver is doing the icebreaker strat here. Ah, and he finds the big key. So another thing with Spoiler and Ice Palace is usually when you're go moding Ice, you want to hit the switch to begin with, because then you don't have to worry about finding the big key. But in Spoiler, if the big key is somewhere easy like that, you can just not hit that switch and find the big key anyway, and you'll save some time. So with that vanilla big key, this is definitely the correct way to route this. And even though you do have to grab that pot key that Sliver just got right there, that should still save time over hitting the switch early that PTM is doing right now. I mean, it's not going to be a very big difference. And if you're not really looking at the key layout because, you know, there's a lot of other stuff going on, maybe that's just not on your mind, you can always safely just hit the switch and just forget about opening anything if you want. But this should save a few seconds for Sliver. And Sliver correctly sword spun Cold Stare into the top left corner. That's something you don't see a lot of people do. But it's actually a lot easier to hit Cold Stare with the Fire Rod if he's in the top left corner versus the top right. They still got spaced out a little bit, unfortunately, but that was still a good fight. A lot of times you see people knock him in the top right corner, even with Fighter Sword, because that's the typical strat for if you're just using like sword slashes to kill him with the Tempered Sword. You see PTM going for top right here. Okay, it's a little bit scary. With Blue Mail, he's still not on one-hit KO though, so I guess it's fine at this point. And he still has a green potion and a blue potion, I'm pretty sure. Nice burb toss from Sean. Oh yeah, PTM is he's wearing a shirt of the inventory screen. That's funny. Kind of ironic to wear that in spoiler when you are only collecting like a third or less of those things. Alright, so let's see. Sliver grabbed the pot key on the right, then went left to hit the switch. I mean, there's nothing useful in here besides the big key. Which is in this chest, apparently. Okay. The issue with this, though, is that you don't have a key for the right side door, so he's going to have to go back to the left. I wonder if it would have been faster to open that chest by coming around the top and not opening the small key door. Okay, PTM is just getting another key from Spike Chest. Interesting. Well, it's a bit hard to say who exact is ahead right now. Again, PTM has already done Hera, so it looks like he's a little bit behind Admire, but having Hera beaten already, I think he's slightly ahead, maybe, but it's super duper close. This is absolutely going to come down just to straight execution. Oh, PTM having a little bit of trouble with the block. This room can be a little bit annoying because the dash button is the same as the pick up the block button. But he recovers quickly, and Misery Mire is done for Sliver. made quick work of that fight with the silvers. Like I was saying earlier, if not for silvers, this would be pretty miserable. I'm not really sure what you would do. I mean, I guess you can do a bunch of spins if you do have the cape. But, I mean, with... Wow, okay, he fit through those dead rocks by dashing. That was cool. But with this seed, like, if you have the cape, then you're going to get the silvers because they're on bumper ledge, so... So Sliver is heading up the mountain through the Dark World. So he's going to mirror in front of GT and then do Hera that way. I'm pretty sure that is slightly slower than going up to Hera. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think it's a little bit faster just to like go up to Hera by mirroring the normal way and then go in the Turtle Rock portal and then come back around. Either way, I think it's probably a pretty small difference. It's probably like the difference of a mirror transition or two. That dead rock also giving PTM trouble, and he solves it in basically the exact same way. That's pretty funny. So PTM already having done Hera, he's just entering Dark World from this portal. Alright, so there is the crystal cutscene for PTM at 5156. Sliver just got his 7th crystal, so he's just going to go through the mirror portal he's got right outside. He gets his cutscene at, I guess that would be 52:20 or something. And there's our Master Sword for PTM, so finally we're in go mode. The other two swords were completely unreasonable. So we're going to be seeing Master Sword Ganon today, but we do have silvers, so it's not the worst thing ever. Okay, we do see a little bit of divergence with how they're routing GT. PTM went up into Stalfos room to get 2 extra small keys, but Sliver's just skipping it. And we can already see that that has made... he's not completely caught up, but the lead went from like 20 seconds to like 5 seconds. Oh, there's an armor in here too. Okay, so this seed really did have a lot of very convenient safeties in it. And that's red mail for PTM, blue for Sliver. But yeah, Sliver found a small key in rando room, which is actually only possible when the big key is there anyway. So yeah, PTM has a bunch of extra keys that he didn't need to pick up from Salvo's room. And already we see Sliver has... Well, it looked like he took a slight lead. His stream is currently frozen, but... PTM down to a half heart, maybe even a quarter heart with red mail, who knows? He still has a blue potion. But he's going to save it for now and just take the safety room. So now Sliver is solidly in the lead. This is also where Sliver's NMG experience is really going to pay off big time. I mean, it's not quite NMG equipment because he only has the Master Sword. Oh, a select menu there from PTM, not sure what that was. Accidentally saving and quitting right now would be very, very bad, to say the least. Yeah, this climb has been super clean from Sliver. He's been gaining a second here, a second there. When you add all those up, it makes a pretty huge difference in spoiler. This is one part where he could potentially lose some of the time. Moldorm 2 can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Good use of the hookshot though to not get knocked into the pit. And that was a really solid Master Sword fight. Meanwhile, PTM is opting to use the hammer. So the hammer takes 3 hits to kill Moldorm, just as Master Sword spins do. In theory, you can do it with the hammer a little bit faster, but the problem is, for PTM, as Moldorm is exploding, PTM is unable to menu or quick swap, so he still has to menu back to the hookshot. So that's another reason why that hookshot Master Sword fight from Sliver was really nice. And Aga 2 is dead for Sliver, as PTM basically enters the fight. Now, Master Sword Ganon is very hard to optimize. Very few people can actually do it, like, optimally. So we'll see how this goes. The difference could absolutely be made here. Takes 12 spins for each of the first 2 phases with Ganon. Not to mention you can die. Dying is bad. It's not all just about the phase count. And so Sliver is now into phase 2. Looks like that was a 4 cycle for phase 1. able to get a lot of spins just from Ganon being up next to the wall right there. And then he can use the cape here. This is smart because he has a blue potion. He could just keep using that cape if he wanted to until his magic was basically low, or basically empty. But yeah, Sliver into phase 3 now, so he's through the worst of it. PTM looks like he got the same number of cycles on phase 1, so he got the good placement for Ganon for phase 2 there. Now phase 4 for Sliver. He gets the first silver. He gets a spin, another spin. It's actually very awkward hitting Ganon with the Master Sword here when going for a silver kill. So he just needs one more silver shot. You should get it right here, and there we go. Right as PTM gets to phase 4. This was a super close race. Get your GGs in the chat for Sliver. And Ganon's dead for PTM. Get your GGs in the chat for PTM. We'll see if we can get these guys in here for an interview. And we are joined by our winner, secretly a Sliver, aka Sean. GGs.
GG. That was a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I'm curious. Were you watching his stream?
I was watching like the final half of it.
Okay. Yeah, it was neck and neck basically the entire time.
Yeah.
You guys really had almost no divergence in your routing.
Yeah,
it was really like
I think he might have been first into GT, but I knew I could beat him on the climb. So, hey PTM, GG.
GG.
Yeah, super close race. You guys both played great. I'm curious, were you watching the stream, PTM? Did you know how close it was?
No, I was not. Whenever I play these kind of things, oh, hold on a second. I'm hearing myself. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, you can. Okay. No, typically when I play these kinds of races, like spoiler or I actually don't know what other race you would be able to. I guess NMG, but
NMG, yeah.
Yeah, I don't normally watch. I normally focus on what I'm doing. So, but yeah, I mean, based on the time, I assume that I was probably in like end of phase 3 when he finished, or just starting phase 4. I think GT lost it. I was so nervous in GT. I made a lot of uncharacteristic errors, and I forgot how to do half the rooms on the way up. So, just this is a fun one though. Like I as I was reading the spoiler log, I was thinking, oh man, this is perfect. Fetch quest items. We get the book, we get the shovel, we were forced to get the cape.
I was gonna say cape ended up being required anyway.
Yeah.
I guess not necessarily, because the ether wasn't bow lock, so you could just go into TR, grab the mirror, and then grab the bow off Spec Rock and skip the cape. But I mean, whatever. Had to get it anyway.
It definitely saved a lot of time to get the cape, for sure. I mean, Vitreous without silvers would have been pretty miserable in the seed.
Yeah.
Especially the other 2 swords were completely off the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pedestal, and I mean, EU EP boss, but
you
can't get the mirror cleanly at pod, so
I thought about going for EP boss, but nah.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, you were pretty much neck and neck the entire time. You did almost the exact same stuff. I think the only little bit of divergence that was really significant was PTM ended up with red mail actually, turning in the Smith while doing all the other, repeated visits to the Dark World that you guys kind of had to do anyway.
Yeah, I did the I did the Smith into I forgot I couldn't take a follower into Bumper Cave, so I was trying to do bow into shovel, and I'm like, oh well, that right there was a big oof. That was a lot of that time diff, like a couple of mistakes like that. I mean, you can't do that in this tournament, right? You gotta know where you're going and know what's required, and obviously you can't take a follower into Bumper Cave. So, I think it was like, yeah.
I like to say it's obvious is, I don't think it's that obvious really. It was a clever idea, and I wasn't even sure if it would work when I was watching it, to be honest. I was like, I'm not sure if it does.
Yeah, that works in cross keys, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
yes, it does.
I've been playing cross keys tournament too, so I'm just so used to taking, I can take the follower anywhere, right? But
yeah, it was a good idea for sure. I mean, that would have routed together very nicely.
Yeah, I was stuck on the whole don't double dip skull, just go get shovel first. And then I'm like, oh, I forgot the bottle in Hookshot Cave, so now I need to get that bottle. And now I'm just like, at a certain point, I was just like, okay, you just have to make decisions, save and quit a million times, and just hope that execution carries. Because I bet I lost over a minute saving and quitting extra.
yeah, I didn't think about the bottle in it was Hookshot Cave, you said, right?
Yeah.
Hookshot Cave. Yeah, I actually didn't think about that bottle. I was assuming that my first bottle was going to be pod, and then I saw that on the way when I was going up the mountain. I'm like, oh yeah, that's great, nice and convenient.
Yeah. Speaking of that bottle and pod, the safeties in this one were pretty nice.
They were, yeah.
There's a lot of really convenient hearts. The mail in GT, half magic was totally free. It's just,
Even
the sports that were kind of lacking.
Even Burno was completely free. I picked it up even though I knew I was picking up Cape because it was just right there.
Yeah, I mean, you never know because there's time lag between getting that and the Cape. You don't know what's going to happen to you in a race. So, well, Sean gets to square up against Gamachu, so that's fun.
Yeah, how do you feel about that matchup?
It's free. I know he's watching. So.
Super free.
No, I mean Gamachu's a good player. I definitely need more practice in spoiler seeds before I even think about going up against him. So I guess I know what I'm doing this week.
Yeah, that's a scary matchup for sure. And PTM, you're not out of it by any means. This is double elimination tournament, so I don't know. Do you know your opponent yet? I haven't actually looked at the bracket.
Let's look at that bracket, shall we? Because right now, I'm knocked down to. So we were match number 6, and I faced the loser of match 14, which is Mufte or Telethar.
Pretty scary either way. So.
Yeah, that's man. Last year I had Andy as my first round match, and then I lost, and I faced wall kicks next. So that was pretty much a 1-2 punch out of the tournament. So, and there's a lot more. I think there's more people playing in this one than there were last year. So,
yeah, the scary people in spoiler are so scary. It's ridiculous. But yeah, any other final thoughts? It was a really fun race to watch.
No, thanks for racing, Sean. Thanks for having that cape agreement. That was fun. That was a fun little preamble to everything.
Yeah, I mean, if I race against PTM, I need to have like some little thing weird happens. So
we gotta fetch quest something.
The easiest thing. All right, thanks for doing comms, Skelly, and tell the tracker thank you as well. Thanks for putting this on short notice.
Yeah, shout out to our tracker and her tracking debut, JDB, who is also my fiance. Fun fact.
Skelly girl.
But yeah, that just about does it for us. There are 2 more races in this tournament happening later today. Let me look at the schedule real quick because it was not clear if they were going to be restreamed yet. Oh yeah, it looks like Radical Sniper versus Leaf got picked up on Speedgaming 3, which will be starting at 9:15 Eastern. At the same time, not on Restream, we also have Jamo versus Freddy N3K. Again, not to be restreamed, but definitely go check out Speedgaming 3 in about a half hour here. That should be a really good race.
Leaf's getting ganged up by JKL.
Oh,
it's 3 against 1.
Yeah, the rest of Sniper's teammates in the commentary booth. Yep, that should be a good fun watch. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and have a lovely rest of your day.